I'm Lisa from Affordable Staff, and today I'm having a chat with Jane from Harcourts, Adlington. Hi Jane, how are you?
Hi Lisa, I'm well. Very well,
good.
thank you.
Firstly, thank you for taking some time to catch up with me today. I know you're a busy lady. We've got the Harcourts Kickstart program, and I believe that you have a nice little spot of property management guest speaker.
Well, I wouldn't say guest speaker, but I am on the panel, so we'll just that's this afternoon. So yeah, that's a bit exciting. It's very nice to be recognised, to be able to be asked to be on that panel. That's a really
I'm
quite
excited
good.
to hear how that goes. Taking us back to when we first had a chat some months ago, 12 months, what had you starting to consider outsourcing?
We were trying to find staff to help run the business, I suppose, a property management team. We had one person with a lot of experience and one really new green property manager. And the fact that property management is really just process, a certain part of it, I'm not downplaying it, but a certain part of property management is a process. You just follow a process.
Yes.
Because we work in a very small business, if we were going to hire a property manager, they needed to do the training, and we struggled to find someone who wanted to do that training.
Yes.
So we looked at what process we could outsource to, and that's when we contacted you. We thought, well, maybe that's an option. We can outsource some of these mundane tasks that happen every day, and just get them done. So, and I think when I first contacted you, and the first thing that you did was you sent through some slides of what other people use.
Yes.
That really opened my eyes as what other real estate agents used virtual assistants for, and that really opened my eyes. So spent a bit of time looking at that.
Yes.
So.
And you're operations manager of the office. You've been there 4 and a bit years?
Yeah, 4 and a bit years. The office was bought by the owner in 2018. So yeah, 4 and a bit years. So.
And Stuart brought you in to try and create some structure and as opposed to all of the things that make it a successful business.
That's right, and process.
Yes.
A big thing on process.
Yes.
And process is always part of the new guidelines from a fair trading perspective. Is supervision guidelines say you must have a process for everything that you do in the office. So that sort of also, well, we didn't. We probably I would say 95 to 100% we have a process for things that we do now, which is and a lot of that process is done by our virtual assistant. And the setting up of that was so easy.
Well, that's really good. Initially, when you assessed virtual assistants and outsourcing, and you opted to follow through with it, what was the goal? In an ideal world, what did you want to achieve?
Initially, when we first signed up with you, we didn't even think about using our virtual assistant for property management.
Okay.
We wanted to achieve professionalism in sales, and Harcourts had just rolled out a really very professional process around pre-listing kits and proposal kits for sales properties. We struggled with the sales agents. They couldn't or they wouldn't come to the party on using that.
Yes.
Whether it was time or technology, but we couldn't get them to use those pre-listing and proposal.
Right.
Send them out to the clients. So initially we thought, okay, let's get a virtual assistant, write a process around that. We only brought the virtual assistant on for 4 hours a day, if you remember.
That's right.
So for the first 6 weeks, I think he was 4 hours a day.
Yes.
We set our processes up. He worked 100% on sales, answering inquiries, or doing the process, answering inquiries, and doing these pre-lists and proposals. We had such big feedback from our clients in regard to how professional they looked and how quick they came.
Yes.
And that was a big win.
Yes.
Very big win. So yeah, that was what we wanted, I think, more around professionalism and consistency, just making sure the same thing happens for every client who comes in. They all get the same document sent to them, and we knew it was going to happen. So, yeah.
Fantastic. And I'd love to ask, why did you choose affordable staff?
I had spoken to a number of people. I just found affordable staff was approachable and helpful, and not selling. I suppose you were selling, but there's a difference between a sales agent that you believe and one that you don't.
Yes.
And I really found that I believed what you were saying, and talked to a few people who, I think I did talk to somebody, actually I did, two companies or two Harcourts agencies that used affordable staff as well, and they were like glowing comments. So I think that was what really pushed us to that. Yeah, you were very approachable, very available whenever we needed you, and yeah, I was very happy with that. So yes, Stuart and I decided that this was the way to go.
That's fantastic. We do try to make sure that every customer feels like that they are our only customer, because we're very much about a people business. We need to make sure that everybody feels comfortable, because it can be quite a daunting thing to try and integrate. Yes,
it can be, and what worried us the most was was what our staff were going to say when they found out that we had someone working in the Philippines doing their work for them. We did get some negative comments, but since there's been none since. Initial negative comments, but the virtual assistant is so good at what he does. There's no negative comments now. They just love him.
Now, if I remember correctly, you had a senior property manager who is a little bit, I'll say, old school, set in their ways, and we come across this scenario quite often. A little bit hesitant to relinquish some of the tasks or entrust a virtual assistant.
Yes.
How's that gone?
Well, it was tough to start with. Right. And you're right, she is set in her ways. Yes. But it is around trust, and the trust comes from the fact that, like, she's the end line. She's between the client, the landlords, and the process. Really, if the process is wrong, she's going to cop it from the landlords. So we've managed to take tasks off her that I didn't think we would be able to. Like simple things like loading invoices. She was very, no, I've got to do it. I need to know, no, I need to know that it's done right and all that. So our virtual assistant now loads all the invoices. I had a comment from her yesterday. She came into the office and she said, "Oh my God, Manny is so good. He is the best." And I thought, well, that's really good for her to say that to me, we thought she would struggle with the fact that we're going to another country to start with, giving a task out to someone who's not sitting in the office with her. But yeah, no, she's very happy. And it is all around that trust and accountability. And I find that the staff, like the virtual assistants, are accountable for what they do. So if they make a mistake, they accept it and they move on and fix it. And that's what you need. You don't want someone to hide what they've done and think, oh, I won't do that, You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So I think that's the trust. It's really around trust.
Absolutely. I love that your virtual assistant's name is Manuel, but all of you so affectionately call him Manny. The relationship has certainly grown.
Yes, I know. And we do all call him Manny. I'm not sure how you spell Manny. I think a lot of emails get sent across to him with different forms of the spelling, but he just answers to them all. He is so professional and so lovely. And
how have you found the communication with integrating somebody that's not in the office, as far as the local team with Manny?
Well, we have, Manny's only sat in on one meeting with us. So, because they know exactly what he does, exactly what his tasks are, they know exactly how to engage him. Yes. And that, a lot of work went into that as well. We set up email templates for our sales staff, so they know exactly what information that they need to send to Manny to get him to do a particular task. And he gets that email, it's got everything he needs, he just goes ahead and does it and sends it straight back to them. So we've included him in one meeting, as I said, just so that he could see the staff that he's working with and they could see him. Yes. And probably maybe next month I might just get him involved in another meeting or in the property management meeting. I just think the communication really works, and he's quite confident now. If they do it wrong, if the salespeople do it wrong, I say to him, go back and tell them to get you the information. Like, they can't just send you something that you have no idea what they want. So he's confident enough. He just goes back, I need this document for me to go further. So he knows, I think because we did the templates, he knows what he needs. They know what he needs to have. And if they don't give it to him, he's going back and saying, you need to give me this information. So the communication is really good.
I love that. It sounds like he is very much a part of the team.
He is very much a part, and they just love the way that he does things. Yeah, he's very much part of the team.
That's cool. Referring back to the original goals that you had set, what do you think, what have been the results that you have found that have been beneficial to the business?
Apart from the professionalism,
yes,
we've had some feedback back from the clients saying, this is really very professional and quick.
Yes.
Benefits in regard to, from the property management perspective, we've actually now implemented, he's doing a lot of those processes as well.
Yes.
And that's giving our property managers more time to do other things. Interesting though, I can't see where their spare time is. They've been giving, a lot of stuff is gone,
yes,
but they seem to have been able to, maybe there was more tasks in behind there that they hadn't been doing because they're still busy, but we're still working through. There's a lot more that we can hand over,
yes,
and we're gradually working that through. But I think it's a time thing.
Absolutely.
Giving them more time to think about, and quality, time and quality,
yes,
because we know it's done right.
Yes.
And if it's not,
structure.
and if it's not right, like if an invoice is sent to him and it's not right, he comes back and says this needs to be fixed. And
that's good.
Yeah, so I think but getting to that stage was a lot of hard work.
Yes, and I have to compliment you for that. I think there's a lot of your background prior to being within the property management and real estate space that has attributed to where you have really assisted Harcourts Adlington, and that is to look at, as you said before, property management is very much around processes.
Yes.
And virtual assistance with processes, I think, is the winning key within your office.
Yes.
And I think you have certainly attributed a lot to that.
Yes, it did. It was a lot of work in the beginning, but it was work that needed to happen.
Yes.
And the initial setup when we first had that meeting,
yes,
was it Gabby? Was it Gabby
yes,
who was the process lady? And we would, I think we did a couple of things, and you videoed it, and she came up with the initial process.
Yes.
But then after that, I just wrote all the process.
Yes.
Because it was for me to understand what he needed to do to make sure it was right. And Manny just took it all on.
Yes.
I'd spend the time to write a process, send it to him, and he wouldn't even ask how to do it. He would just come back, it's done, no questions. Which I think to get it right, you need to spend the time up front.
Yes.
I probably didn't have the time to spend, but I think it was time worthwhile. It had to be done, yeah.
And with you spending that time, would that be you making sure that you were comfortable with the process and the way in which you would like your virtual assistant to operate?
I think it was more about me making sure the process was right.
Yes.
Some of the things now, because I'm more confident with Manny, he does his own process in some regards and comes back and says this is the best way to do it. And I'm now confident enough to send him something and say, can you just look in Property Tree, for example, and see if you can work out how I can get a report with this in it. And he'll come back and say, yep. So he'll give it to me. So I think it's more around me now being trusting him that he, and I think also he's happy.
Yes.
He loves working for us, and he wants to please, and he'll do anything. He'll do anything I ask. I mean, he does. He does anything I ask, no matter how hard or how easy it is. If I need it done, even if it's just a simple run a report, Manny will have it to me in 5 minutes, and it might take me 15 or 20 because I've got all of these interruptions, but I know then I've got that report. I don't have to think anymore. He's really my right-hand man as well.
Oh, that's
honestly.
fantastic. Well, hopefully we're going to alleviate a little bit of time in your calendar for you to start spending some more time with your beautiful new grandchildren.
I'm hoping. That's the discussion I had with my boss this morning.
Yes.
So we'll see how that goes.
So my last question for you is, if you were to be speaking to somebody that was in a similar position to you 12 months ago and they were considering outsourcing, what advice would you give to them?
I think be open-minded.
Yes.
Outsourcing is not a bad thing. Outsourcing in the past has been you're giving up jobs, Australian jobs, and sending them overseas. It's not about that. You're actually giving jobs to people who need them. They may not be in Australia, but they definitely need them, and they do the job well. Like, there's no. What I like the most is there's no HR.
Oh, yes.
I don't need to do anything in regard to HR. You interview, you do all the work, you do all the KPIs around what Manny does. You tell him that he's doing a good job, doing a bad job. I don't have to get involved in any of that. That is number one for me, because HR and people management is not the nicest part of anyone's job.
No.
And you don't always have enough time to do it properly. So that's a really big thing. So always also think outside the square in regard to what you can hand over. There's things that you can hand over that you think you can't, but you definitely can.
Yes.
And in the back of my mind now, I'm thinking there's more that I can give to my virtual assistant. I just need to work out the process around it, because you need to understand that virtual assistants can't have any interaction with the clients. It's all back end. So there's a few things that I'd like him to be able to do. I just need to work out the process around not having that interaction with the client. Yeah, I think it is around being open-minded, thinking outside the square, giving it a go.
Yes.
Because if it doesn't work, you haven't lost anything.
Absolutely not.
You've actually gained if it doesn't work, because you've done process.
Yes.
Having a process in an organisation is key. And so if you've spent 6 months working on your processes and you've got them there, and your virtual assistant doesn't work, you haven't lost anything. You've got your process.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that we talked about earlier is around, you mentioned outsourcing is not necessarily taking positions away, but I'm finding, and I think your business is definitely another one that I would compliment, it's around trying to support your local team with, I think, a lot of the great resignation talk and whatnot.
Yes.
We want to make sure that we keep valued staff happy in their roles, supported, alleviate some of the things that are really more beneficial to an outsourced virtual assistant, to allow them to enjoy what they're doing.
That's right. And it's the mundane tasks that they don't want to have to do every day that is done by a virtual assistant. And you don't get any complaints.
No.
They do the work.
It's
some of it, I think in our situation, Manny is very lucky because he does so much different. Every day is different.
He does love the variety.
Yeah, so he's not just doing lease renewals every day in and 8 hours a day, the same process. He's got to think, and he's very good at that. And he might do 20 different processes a day, and then next day he might do 40 that haven't even done, like he hadn't done for a week. Like, it's very, very varied, and I think he's very lucky in that regard. Yeah.
Well, we're lucky to be working with you too.
Thank you, Lisa.
No, thank you. And good luck today with the panel.
Thank you.
I look forward to hearing you speak, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you in a few awards tonight at the quarterly awards.
Yes, that's going to be interesting to see how the team works, see what happens. Yep.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Well, that's it from Lisa from Affordable Staff. Thank you, Jane. Really appreciate your time. If any of our watchers do have any questions, or if you're in a similar position to Jane and you'd like to talk to me about some of the benefits that perhaps we can instill in your business, please jump on our website, www.affordablestaff.com.au. I look forward to speaking with you.